Hail to you, Wanderer. Welcome to my dungeon. On tonight's episode, we've got a gleefully ghoulish mascot, the Crimson Ghost. The genre-bending, monster-loving horror punks, the Misfits, have something that has always set them apart from other heavy bands. Besides suing each other every few years, they're also the only band to create a mascot that would become more recognized and infamous than they or their music ever would. The image of the Crimson Ghost went from the grimy underground New York punk scene of the 80s to the racks of Walmart today. And look, while I'm as disgusted as you are that this particular Fiend Skull began his career as a pitiful, weak human being in disguise, the impact of both the Misfits and the Crimson Ghost on heavy music is undeniable. The villainous character was torn from the screen in the 1946 film serial of the same name. But the real story of how the Crimson Ghost became part of music history dates back to 1979, when an upstart band of punks, the Misfits, needed an image to put on promo flyers for gigs. Glen Danzig and Jerry only were looking for something ghoulish to silkscreen onto t-shirts when they came upon the sinister villain, thanks to their obsession with horror films. So many of the Misfits' lyrical themes pay homage to classic horror, such as Return of the Fly, Night of the Living Dead, and The Horror Hotel, so it was more than fitting that their mascot would be an image borrowed from the crypts of horror cinema. The Crimson Ghost appeared on their 1979 single, Horror Business, and will be prominently featured on flyers, posters, t-shirts, and patches for decades to come. Despite quickly becoming the face of the band, he would be left off of most of the album covers until the 1982 live record, Evil Live. 82 was kind of a crazy year for the band. Highlights include being arrested in a New Orleans graveyard while trying to steal the skull of voodoo practitioner Mary Laveau, and chasing Vince Neil and Motley Crue members out of their show at the Whiskey and halfway down Sunset Boulevard. 1983 saw the release of Earth AD, which featured Crimson Ghost on the cover for the first time on a full-length record, and it's a pretty cool cover. Classic horror punk stuff illustrated by Mad Mark Rude. Not only would it be a shift to darker visual imagery, but the increased intensity, heaviness, and speed in the music was a noticeable shift to a more hardcore sound. Metallica bassist Cliff Burton really helped put the Misfits on the heavy metal map in the 80s. Often rocking a Crimson Ghost shirt and tattoo on his arm, it wouldn't take long for the rest of Metallica to join the love fest. The image just stuck with you, and the guys in Metallica being fans and wearing that image was huge for the Misfits. Earth AD would be the last record from the classic Misfits lineup, and Danzig, who had become increasingly fed up with the Misfits, quit 2 months before the record's release to start his own band. He would find success and new fans, which led to renewed interest in the Misfits, and Danzig began to release Misfits compilations using overdubs so he could avoid paying royalties to the original members. Devilish indeed. Jerry only would begin a legal battle with Danzig over the royalties, and eventually dropped the royalty claim and pursued the use of the Misfits name and the Crimson Ghost himself, which had featured on the Collection 1 compilation and some others. In 1995, the Misfits reformed without Danzig, and there would be old Fiend Skull himself, the Crimson Ghost, featuring prominently on the cover of their first Graves-era release, American Psycho. His appearance in the opening of the videos for the title track and Dig Up Her Bones is some classic Tales from the Crypt kinda shit. Gotta love it. Decades would pass. The Misfits would see more lineup changes, a shift to a more heavy metal-based song structure and sound. Through it all, the image of the Crimson Ghost endured, and in 2016 they were ready to return to their roots and cash in on their legacy, with Danzig returning to reform the original Misfits. Performing dozens of headlining sets between then and now, guess who's been right there with them? That's right, our hero Bone Daddy and the Misfits power on through the 21st century. The original horror punks, the Misfits have had numerous incarnations over the years, but everyone has made use of horror and science fiction themes and imagery. Frankly, I don't know if Hot Topic would have made it without Fiend Skull t-shirts. Either way, the Crimson Ghost remains one of the most recognizable mascots in the history of distorted guitars and disdain for authority. Thanks for watching. Consider hitting that like button, subscribing, and checking out some of these other awesome videos.